Chip Foose rose to fame as a result of the popular television program Overhaulin. In each episode, he showcased his talent for creating customized automobiles and shared heartwarming tales of owners whose vehicles were altered without their knowledge. His ability to transform rusted old objects into moving pieces of art, his creativity, and his composure as a leader were all adored by his fans. However, many people have been curious about his life lately, and whether he is still building. Join us as we investigate the fate of the well-known automaker. Late November 2018 was one of Chip's worst days ever. His best friend, teacher, and father, Sam Foose, passed away following a protracted illness. Chip announced the death of his father, Sam Foose, to the world on Instagram. In the message, he stated that Sam was not only his father, but also his best friend and hero. He promised to miss Sam forever. He included photos of them taken throughout the years. Sam was 83. For automotive enthusiasts, he was more than just Chip's father. As a builder, he was admired by many, and he frequently appeared on Overhaulin, contributing to many of the show's projects. Born in 1934 in Southern California, Sam has always had a passion for automobiles. He and his family relocated to Arizona in 1948, but he remained in Santa Barbara and took up residence in a friend's garage in order to make ends meet. It taught him how to manufacture things, paint, and iron. In order for him to eat with their children, Lindy, Chip, Jod, and Amy, his wife Terry would bring meals to the store. He put in a lot of overtime. Following the Korean War, he became quite interested in homemade automobiles. Through his store, Project Designs, he produced numerous one-of-a-kind creations. Some vehicles, such as the 1949 Ford Coupe, the wild Yakosa 200, and a distinctive version of the De Tomaso Pantera, truly stood out. He found it simple to design. Less is more, but it's better to do more with less. More than the automobiles, Sam's greatest gift was teaching Chip. As a kid, Chip learned a lot from the store. He learned from Sam, for instance, that bell-bottom pants are less likely to be in vogue than trendy clothing. Sam once astonished Chip on Overhaulin by covertly repairing his 1956 Ford F-100. This demonstrated their closeness. Since Sam's passing, Chip's life has changed significantly. However, he soon encountered additional issues in his personal life that tested the foundation he had established at home. In November 2019, Chip Foose and his wife Lynn were no longer married. After years of marriage, Lynn filed for divorce in Orange County, California. For Overhaulin fans who had witnessed Chip's personal and professional lives blended together, it was a significant and unexpected shift. Chip first got to know Lynn in the 1980s. In 1990, shortly after Chip graduated from the Art Center College of Design, they were married. Their lives were constantly shaped by their families and jobs. In 1998, they founded Foose Design. While Chip diligently worked on the artwork, Lynn managed the shop's operations and handled the books, contracts, and artistic endeavors. They achieved international fame while raising their two children, Brock and Katie. However, the tension increased along with the business. As the 2000s rolled around, Chip was rarely seen. He traveled constantly for auto shows and overhauls, and he worked long days at the business. Lynn operated the company and conducted the majority of the work from home. But eventually, their relationship began to suffer as a result of their different occupations. By the end of 2019, Lynn had made her divorce request. A few months later, in early 2020, Chip submitted his response. What followed was not straightforward. Due to numerous legal disputes involving money, property, and custody, the divorce took a lengthy period. By 2022, the entire situation had not been resolved. Following their divorce, the company they had founded together also underwent changes. Chip reportedly maintained his own cars and tools, but gave up a lot of important items, including the Foose Design Shop. After more than 20 years, Lynn left the company, terminating their 10-year working partnership and their 18-year marriage. Chip had to battle to prevent others from stealing his concepts and identity, in addition to his personal battles. After closing his firm, Foose Design, Chip went on to create hallmark vehicle parts that were renowned for their distinctive, streamlined appearance. His work became so popular that others began to imitate it. Building your own car was no longer the only option. People were lying about his name and image. In 2012, Chip posted something on his Facebook page to alert folks. He said that a business named Super Replicas was exploiting his name and even snipping his films to make it appear as though he was employed by them. Chip was certain. According to him, Super Replicas or any of the other names they utilized had nothing to do with him or Foose Design. For a while, fans believed the issue was resolved, but Chip had to republish the identical statement on his official blog in 2016. There was still a problem. Super Replicas continued to claim that he liked their products. Even images of his father, his colleagues, and, most distressingly, his sister Amy, who passed away from progeria, a rare genetic condition that causes rapid aging, were being used. Chip claims that the corporation even claimed that the proceeds from their vehicles will be used to support ill children. He and his family found that difficult to hear. Rither Sanchez was another individual he mentioned. Sanchez altered a video from a public gathering in Panama to give the impression that Chip had a business meeting with Super Replicas. It was simpler to see the truth. Sanchez had just joined the other fans in line, and Chip had been in Panama for work-related reasons with BASF Automotive Paints. Later, Sanchez altered the video to fabricate a falsehood. Chip explained what was happening. He warned his people not to believe the falsehoods. A secret tape did not exist, nor was there a bargain. He assured everyone that the only sources of accurate information would be Foose Design, his website, or his verified pages. The issue demonstrated the value of his reputation, as well as how easily it may be damaged. However, Chip chose to fight back by speaking with his supporters directly, while other builders took their dispute to court. Maintaining confidence was more important than avoiding accusations. However, the personal losses that followed the court battles would hit Chip much more severely. Chip Foose suffered yet another significant financial loss in August 2019. Jesse Combs, his former co-host on Overhaulin, lost his life in an accident in the Alvord Desert of Oregon while attempting to break the women's land speed record. She was only 39. Jesse had been around automobiles all his life. Born in 1980, she studied car repair and construction at Wyotech. Her proficiency in her field was immediately apparent. She then entered the television industry. She starred on Mythbusters, co-hosted Spike's Extreme 4x4, and then joined All Girls Garage. She was admired because she was more than just a talker. By being in the shop building, she demonstrated her belonging. She was one of 30 Wyotech students who were requested to assist Chip's crew in fixing a 1967 Mustang in 2004. She had never touched Overhaulin before. Jessie was a full-time co-host when the show returned in 2012. Up till 2015, she starred in almost 50 episodes of the program. She got her hands filthy, created things, and welded, which added a lot of intrigue to the event. On August 27, 2019, she was traveling over 500 miles per hour in a jet-powered vehicle when the front wheel broke. The crash claimed her life. After a year, Guinness provided definitive confirmation. It was 5:22 when she ran. She was the fastest woman on four wheels ever, reaching 783 amp. The automobile industry suffered a severe loss. Fans, racers, and builders all paid their respects. Following a memorial gallery, the network that aired Overhaulin aired a documentary titled The Fastest Woman on Earth, which detailed her record attempts and the dangers she took to pursue them. It was all about Chip. He collaborated with Jessie on Overhaulin in its last years. After she passed away, Chip shared some remarks and some photos online. According to him, Jessie was a vibrant collaborator who gave every build her all. The fact that she passed away at that time made it even harder. Chip felt as though he couldn't bear another burden after losing Jessie on top of a difficult split. The fact that they had collaborated on Overhaulin made this particularly true. Overhaulin transformed the way people viewed auto shows when it debuted on TLC in 2004. Overhaulin featured both stunning builds and humorous jokes, while other shows just addressed the technical aspects. The strategy was straightforward. After informing the owners that their vehicle was missing, they would disclose that Chip Foose and his team had discreetly repaired it. Chip collaborated with co-hosts Chris Jacobs and Adrian A.J. Janik to transform rusty, old objects into artistic creations. The program continued until 2008. It returned to Velocity, which is now Motor Trend, from 2012 and 2015. Fans witnessed not just the building, but also the emotions of troops and their families as their vehicles were brought back to life in over 100 episodes. After 11 years of intermittent performances, there was no more in November 2015. Costs had been increased too much. Every build required a week of nonstop work and late nights. Although there was a lot of work to be done, sponsors such as MagnaFlow and groupings of manufacturers made things easier. Some even claimed that advertisers paid for certain segments of the presentation or that they were phony. However, these allegations were quickly ignored and never came to fruition. Chip would have another opportunity to establish the show as a consistent hit after many years. In November 2019, Overhaulin returned after a 4-year hiatus. 12 episodes of the brand new program, Season 10, were available on the Motor Trend app. Longtime viewers believed that the show had returned to its former glory. Chris Jacobs and Adrian Janik were right there with Chip Foose, who was still in command of the builds. They used the same tactic that initially made the show popular, tricking owners into believing their automobile was gone before showcasing a fantasy build weeks later. The crew debuted their first project live at the SEMA show in Las Vegas to kick off the season. A former heavy metal vocalist owned the 2014 Corvette Stingray, which had 2 different colors. The team obviously wanted fans to be involved as that news went viral on social media. Each show followed the same format: a nomination, a touching history, a practical joke, and finally Foose's trademark design on a car that was disassembled and reassembled over several hours. Although the owners were not billed for the work, they were required to pay taxes on the additional value. The purpose of the stories was to make you feel sorry. A Navy veteran's Mustang and a cancer survivor's Challenger were the subjects of 2 different episodes. The arrival of Shaquille O'Neal was the most talked about aspect. One of the largest projects of the season was the 1964 Impala that Foose worked on. Not all of the responses were positive, despite everyone's excitement. The artwork and the dramatic changes were adored by the fans. However, many claimed that the relaunch left little opportunity for fresh information about the fictitious events, because it depended too heavily on drama and old gags. However, things did not always land nicely. Later, some customers complained about issues with their vehicles, such as overheating engines or parts that appeared to have been chosen more for their sponsors than for their quality. After reading such accounts, some viewers started to question the caliber of Chip and his team's rebuilds. The show ceased operations after the season concluded in July 2020. Production also decreased. The formula for the show was getting stale, and production costs had increased. However, the primary issue was that fewer people were watching. Although it only ran for 1 season, this show was slated to make a huge streaming comeback. However, Chip Foose's impact on the company was well known before the Motor Trend version of Overhaulin was shown. The inaugural Builder of the Decade award was given to Chip Foose at the 2019 Grand National Roadster Show in Pomona, California. Many in the auto industry were not surprised. The America's Most Beautiful Roadster Award is presented during this event, which has been around since 1950 and is referred to as the granddaddy of all roadster exhibits. In honor of its 70th anniversary, the event introduced a new prize that considered the most distinctive vehicles produced in the previous 10 years. Foose was their choice. It was simple to choose him because of his record. He had already received multiple AMBR awards and the Riddler Award in Detroit. His TV show, his design work, and the projects he worked on in his Huntington Beach shop influenced a lot of hot rodding in the 2000s. The show assembled 12 of his most well-known vehicles, such as the Grandmaster and the Impression, in his honor. It was Foose's largest built collection to date. On January 27, 2019, Foose accepted the prize and expressed gratitude to his team and family. While some disputed on who should be given credit, most people agreed that the decade was defined by the ideas of one man. As the sole builder of the decade, he has been striving to bestow the title on his son. Sam used to look after his kid Brock, and today Chip does the same. Chip is now receiving instruction in the same manner as he received in his father's shop. Their collaborative projects demonstrate their closeness. Brock added leather accents to a custom build while he was on Overhaulin in 2019. It was a minor detail, but it indicated that he was more comfortable in the store. By 2023, that confidence had developed into complete cooperation. Over several months, Chip modified Brock's personal Mustang's exhaust system. Chip took charge of every stage, from welding and cutting to ensuring that everything was properly aligned. He converted it into a school where students learned problem-solving and patience techniques. Chip adored teaching his son, as evidenced by his later statement that the experience was better than a day at the beach. Brock now gives fans tours of his shop, where he builds things like a 1955 Dodge, a 1956 Bel Air, and Chip's own C10. He speaks easily about technical aspects and design choices, demonstrating how much he has learned from working with Chip. Chip frequently remarks that, while adhering to the traditional design principles that Sam taught him, Brock infuses the shop with fresh vitality. They even present accolades jointly, such as the Foose Memorial Design Award, which unites 3 groups simultaneously. Chip wants to be more than just Brock's mentor and teacher. The objective is to preserve a theory. Workmanship is crucial, and well-designed things last a lifetime. Through these collaborations, Chip is teaching his son not just how to construct automobiles, but also how to carry on the Foose name into the future. Chip is no longer in a haste to fulfill TV deadlines. The shop where it all started is now where he spends the most of his time working on vehicles. Work in various stages is all around the Huntington Beach floor at Foose Design. He has been working on a 1956 Lincoln Continental with a new plan engine, a 1962 Corvette that was just painted, and a 1949 Cadillac that will be fully restored in 2025. A 33 Ford vehicle is also being worked on. Fans frequently learn about new developments through conversations with his son Brock, who has begun to share more behind-the-scenes information. Chip still makes time for public appearances. Chip and Real Truck worked on a unique F-150 at SEMA 2025. While he was on the ground, he demonstrated his skills to others. In order to arrive in Toronto early for the Matoma Expo, he flew. Sitting there, he addressed fans' queries and drew vehicles with them. Those who watched Overhaulin as children experienced the same emotions. Chip continued to sketch and construct. Not much had changed. He now devotes more time to mentoring. Chip participates in SEMA's Young Guns program, which teaches young builders how to build by matching them with veterans. He also joined the RPM Apprentice program in 2025, which allows students to learn repair work from experts. He never feels hurried and always takes his time, according to builders who have worked with him. He has continued to volunteer as well. A modified Ford F-150 Chip was displayed at the January 2025 Barrett-Jackson sale. In honor of his sister, the piece sold for approximately $150,000, with the proceeds going to the Progeria Research Foundation. He collaborated with SEMA Cares on a large Ford F-350 project in the fall of that year, which raised $200,000 for children's organizations. Now that he is 61, Chip is exempt from watching television. He works at the shop, attends events, and interacts with the younger generation. Overhaulin's comeback date is still unknown to fans, but he doesn't appear to be in a rush. He seems to prefer teaching, having a regular career, and spending time with his family.